Now, a little bit of beauty transcending boundaries in the Middle East, a much-needed story. At the 2017 Miss Universe contest in Las Vegas, Miss Iraq, Sarah Idan, posted for this selfie with Miss Israel, Adar Gandelsman. Both of them shared that photo on their Instagram. Idan was harshly criticized in her native land and across the Arab world, prompting death threats that even forced her and her family to relocate. This week, the two were reunited in Jerusalem, of all places, and our Jordana Miller caught up with them. Jordana, these two, especially obviously for Miss Iraq.
What a breath of fresh air to do this story. First of all, two young people who really are trying to change a kind of consciousness in this region. You know, when we think about America and the young people who are fighting for, against gun laws and gun control, here a Jew and a woman from Iraq, an Arab American, who are really trying to say, you know what, we don't need to hate each other anymore. So it was a great interview, and the first thing that I asked her was about kind of what happened after that selfie went up, and the reaction, which she said she never expected. Sarah, let's take a listen.
It was very scary. I woke up to my phone messages from my family and phone calls from Miss Iraq organization, and they were asking me to, not my family, the Miss Iraq organization, to take down the picture, and that they were threatened. My family was threatened, and I just, I couldn't take it down because I knew what I did wasn't wrong. But at the same time, there were all these people on social media also attacking you, saying you do not represent our country, our people, you are Israeli agent or you're American agent, and making up all these stories, and it was sad. But at the same time, there were so many people from all over the world, and a lot of Iraqis also, that they supported it.
Very well spoken. Jordana, what about her, Miss Iraq, her impressions of Israel coming here and seeing, let's say, both the good and the bad?
Well, she said that she feels so comfortable here. It really reminds her of Damascus, the architecture, the landscape, the people that are so warm. She went to the market here in Jerusalem, or I should say in Jerusalem or in Tel Aviv, and met a bunch of Iraqis, Israeli Iraqis, spoke with them in Arabic. But she is here at a sensitive time, all those protests at the Gaza border, and she did address even that. Let's take a listen.
I've discovered the people here, they're very peaceful, they're very nice. All what they want is to have a country to live in, And I understand the whole thing behind why these protests and why people die, because mostly it comes from violent organizations like Hamas. I lived in Iraq. I'm familiar with these people and what they do when they throw themselves, and they don't care if they die or live, and all what they want is stir this thing, to show the other side is like an enemy. And when I heard about it, it was like 61 people died. 50 of them, they were Hamas members. The rest were innocent people, and they just did it. They did not care about the rest. And I know this because it happens in Iraq. When I worked for the U.S. military in Iraq, and all the time we had terrorists that they attack us, although there are civilians around us.
Jordana, what about Miss Israel sitting next to her? Because it's also unusual for an average Israeli to meet an average Iraqi.
Right. Now, here's the interesting twist in the story. We often talk about how Israel is misrepresented, anywhere from ignorance to demonization or anti-Semitism. But we forget that for Israelis, there's a lot of misperceptions also about Arabs, who they are, their culture. And that was something that Adar Gandelsman, the Israeli Miss Universe contestant, she said.
All my life, I didn't hate Arabs. I was afraid of them, but I didn't know them so much to know how they like. And I just all the time hear stories, in the news, and I didn't know them. Because of this, I was afraid to talk to Sarah because I didn't know what to expect. So it changed everything for me. Now I look at Arabics in Israel, and I don't have what to be afraid of, what to expect. I know how the people are, so it's good.
Jordana, Miss Iraq spoke about the feedback she received. What about Miss Israel?
So Miss Iraq got obviously a lot of negative feedback and a lot of threats and hate mail. But on the Israeli side, there was a lot of positive feedback that Adar told us about, which made her feel like she really had done the right thing. And it's worth mentioning that the Israeli Miss Universe organization did not pressure her to take down the selfie. So let's take a listen to what she had to say.
I know that I receive a lot of comments, good comments, that people from Iraq, people from Israel, Arabic from Israel, that sending me how good that you did it. I'm so happy that you are representing us, how good your relationship is. So I think it's, yes, did something good. And I hope that now and all this time it's going to be better and better.
Jordana, you hear them talking. It sounds almost, normal, as it should be. But again, as you mentioned, Miss Iraq facing really very real threats, not only after that selfie last year, but still today.
Right. It's incredible. I mean, clearly these two women are going to be friends for life, but it has a cost. Sarah's family was driven out of Iraq under death threats, and she cannot publicly disclose even where her parents live, where her siblings are, because she's still afraid that someone may attack them, not only for her friendship with Adar, but now her visit to Israel. It's very complicated.
Yeah. And it's just interesting, how do women?
Oh, they became like very fast friends, so much so at the pageant that it was hard to separate them once they had started to, talk and get along. And, they've met each other. Well, Sarah has met Adar's family, and Adar is hoping to travel to Los Angeles when she finishes her service in the IDF. Yeah. So you can tell this really is a real friendship.
Sad that Miss Israel does not have the real option of going to visit Miss Iraq in her home country, but maybe one day.
And we should remember there was a similar case where Miss Lebanon did pose with in a picture, or was seen in a picture with Miss Israel. There she basically, in Lebanon, she had to disown that, and that situation was a little different.
Right, and we saw this young woman taking such a different stand.
Yeah. Well, what diplomats and politicians cannot do sometimes, the beauty queens just have to do it.